The time to build is upon us.
With great power comes great responsibility.
You know the greatest danger facing us is ourselves.
Irrational fear, we all know.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
This is the Superhuman Academy podcast.
Relax. Yeah. Like, what is your approach to helping people when you are one-on-one or in a group? Like, where's your mind at? Where are you focused on? What are you looking at?
I think it harkens back to what helped me as a kid. I think that's both the gift and the uniqueness, and also maybe the blind side.
Mm.
And so as a kid, because I knew I was reasonably smart, but because I just was not able to put an academic package together in elementary school that delivered any sort of tangible result, I was kind of trapped in my own sort of matrix.
Mm-hmm.
So you know you're smart, you know you've been healed, you know you've got a gift, probably.
All right, let's pause and go to the healed, because I remember you sharing a birth story with me when we first talked. Let's fill everyone else in on that.
Oh, sure. So, I mean, not everybody has one of these moments, but I can't help it. It happened to me before I was able to even remember the story. It was just the backstory was my mom and dad really felt like he was a school teacher, just country school teacher, and he felt like he's supposed to go back to college, and they thought maybe we would become missionaries or something like that. So they had this sort of grand view of, serving God and doing their thing. So they're selling their little house and packing up their 4 kids, and right when that's happening, I ended up getting meningitis along with a number of other kids in our rural community, and some of the other kids die. I'm like 2 years old. So they're bringing me to the hospital going, wow, is this really that? I mean, this is maybe a twisted view of God, but they're saying, like, is this really the cost, the price? Is that you're taking our kid as a way of sort of checking out our loyalty and where we're going to jam on our plan? And so they're bawling their eyes out, and I'm completely paralyzed. I get to the hospital, and on the way to the hospital, they say, we don't know why you're taking Steve, but you can have him. He's yours. So get to the hospital, and it's a Catholic hospital. There's nuns. Doctor grabs my neck in the exam room, tries to bend it. And the minute he lays his hands on me, I'm instantly healed of meningitis. Like, it's gone. And my dad said the room turned into like liquid love. It was like, seriously, like, he said you could probably jump in the air and just float like in the Matrix or something, like, and that was that. And so all of a sudden they're driving home with their kid that's now doesn't have meningitis anymore. And they're like, wow, wonder why God gave Steve back. And later on, when I'm like 6 and 7 years old, both in school and at nighttime having like visitations of the spiritual realm, I'm like, I'm not 100% sure he gave me back because I'm having a really different experience than my siblings and my cousins.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a different dimension. If you think of, I know it sounds very mechanical, but I work in industry. I mean, I help loggers and firefighters sort out their complex lives. And so I try to use images that they can track and use, because they're used to, following maps and having a logistical chain of command. So I think of it like this, like a Rubik's Cube. Even though I'm lousy at Rubik's Cubes, I can't even do them. But imagine you got this chaotic Rubik's Cube and you can only see one plane. And for most people in their lives, that one plane is enough. Even for a lot of psychologists, that one is enough. And so, they go to elementary school. Oh, I'm going to come back. And they're super good on spelling, and they can write English essays so well, and they crush it in high school, and they go to university and they get a master's degree, maybe even a PhD or something like that. And that one plane has just met their need all the way through. So when they approach their client base or their modality of thinking, that one plane is enough, which is, let's say, cognitive behavioral therapy, or this or that, or family system theory, or whatever it is. And I make no judgment on that. It meets their need, and therefore they right away, their unconscious biases, it's going to meet others.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think that healing story is spun around a Rubik's Cube. and just enough so that I could see a couple other angles as a little kid that are normally not opened up to people other than people that some people have had extreme trauma. Like my mom even, my mom and dad actually live in our garden suite down in our, like we're doing
Cool.
this thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I visit them pretty much every day and they say, "You're best. So we can talk about anything with you." I know, it's great. I think you might be my best friends too. My wife would go, "Are you gonna go visit your mommy and daddy?" And I go, "Yeah." But but that if you can just picture the angle of the Rubik's Cube, you're seeing kind of in the spirit realm as well. And you're seeing into a dynamic of supernatural that is not normally. Oh, I was gonna say, my my mom for quite a while, what her theory was she thought I'd been abused. And that's why I had
Mm.
the response. She'd scratch her head and go, "I don't know when, like, I can't remember when we didn't have our eye on you or like, was it, you know, was it maybe when you were in the hospital another time with a breathing problem?" Like she had this theory, said something happened to Steve that
Mhm.
that kind of broke this one plain mono view of this is enough to make sense of my world. And so for quite a while, she actually had a heartfelt theory that out of the love and concerns of mom that I'd been abused, probably sexually abused. But to my recollection, that didn't happen.
Mhm.
But this happened. And so to me, that, events, even though they can be glorious, like having your life saved by an entity beyond yourself, beyond the medical community, beyond medicine, in the split second, even though that can seem amazing, it can be giant trauma to a one plane worldview.
Yeah. What I understand the metaphor, but I'm trying to wrap my head around what is that like? Like, especially as a kid, when you are seeing different angles, what is that experience like? What are you actually seeing, perceiving, feeling? What's going on?
Okay, so I'm sitting in my little country church,
Mhm.
in the ethnic church, and like 10 years old. Everybody is playing by the rules. Two German hymns, one English hymn, uh, two choir point. I mean, this is like 70 people sitting in the church, but there's a choir with four-part harmony and can sing the entire Messiah, right? It's kind of an odd little group of people. And everybody thinks one of the church leaders is like a hero. And I'm like, I wouldn't trust him with my Lego.
Okay. What
There's
yeah,
something
where'd that
about
come
him.
from?
There's something about him that's just wrong, untrustworthy. And so what do you do with that? Who do you tell? Who do you talk?
Mhm.
And then at the end of this person's career, because most people's lives, they just can't keep it underground and unravels, and you find
Yeah.
out that he's a predator. And you go, oh, wow, I guess I was right. And so it's that where do I wasn't picking that up on the single plane of the Rubik's cube. I was picking up
Yeah.
some of the other little corners that I've seen.
What was that just like a sense? Did you I mean, some people talk about seeing auras. Was like I'm trying to get a sense of what that is, how you experience that.
For me, I think because my background is a Christian, Judeo-Christian worldview,
Yeah.
so I was taught about heaven and hell and the fallen angels, and like that is a model that I'm still to this day very, very comfortable with. Like it
Mhm.
works for me. I'm curious. Like if people tell me about what happens at Burning Man, I'm like, tell me more. That sounds really interesting. And so that kind of stuff is I find interesting, but I would never go to Burning Man trying to find a revelation. I'd go there probably to try to be light. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's another topic.
Sure.
I I uh I I experienced the battle for the souls of humanity as a kid. And I saw people yield to both uh, God and his kingdom and the kingdom of darkness. And I was able to, for whatever reason, probably not batting like whatever it is, like perfect, but I was able to see behind people's facades.
Mhm. And okay, I know I'm re-asking the same question a bunch,
No,
but
keep on asking.
is there a physical feeling? Is it something you, like, perceive with your eyes? Is it a thought that pops up in your head? Is it a, like, emotional sense? What is that?
I would say it's probably all of those at different
Okay.
times. So sometimes it's wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat.
Huh.
Like
Yeah.
even last night, like my poor wife, she's amazing, but last night I heard her say, "Are you okay?" I go,
Mhm.
"Yes, thank you for waking me up," because I was on a couch bawling my eyes out of my dream. And it's like, what was that? So interesting.
Mhm.
But when I woke up, I didn't have a sense that there was like a visitor from the spirit realm, like in my room or something like that, which I've had lots before. So it wasn't that sense that there was another entity that I need to deal with. It was just I
Mhm.
had this dream that was really, really remarkable. Yeah, so sometimes it's just an impression, sometimes it'd just be a flash. Because of how my brain maybe got fried in meningitis as a 2-year-old, I don't see any words or letters or numbers. Like, I've never been able to close my eyes and see, like, 1963. Like,
Okay.
how people can close their eyes and go, I see it," and then I write it. So spelling tests were pretty tough for me because I would
Mm.
close my eyes and try to see it, but I couldn't see it. So I don't necessarily see things. I see them outside of myself typically.
Okay. Um, would you be willing like, do you see or experience anything when we're interacting? You can share whatever you want. I'm not
Good question.
uh, it's okay if you don't, like, I'm just, like, I wanna learn about myself
Sure.
if there's information that I don't have access to.
I sometimes get a word.
Yeah? Okay.
So the word that I got just when you asked that question is innocent.
Okay. Well, could be worse.
Oh, no, that's a good word. No, like, sure, maybe we want words like powerful or this or that, but lots of people wouldn't qualify for that word.
Hmm.
For instance, like if you're competing with Joe Rogan, I don't think he qualifies for innocent.
Competing I never thought about myself as competing with Joe Rogan for anything.
But, like, because someone that your listeners would be familiar with that
Oh,
person.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
podcasting.
if Joe Rogan asked me, what word, like, what do you see when you look at me? I would have instantly, I would have a different word.
Okay, interesting.
What is innocent? How does that land for you?
Yeah, it's it is interesting that you say that. Like, so my name, Colin,
Yeah.
as far as I know, if someone knows names better than I do, then let me know, but, my understanding is that basically just means, like, boy, little boy, like, that's it. And
Wow.
gro growing up, I never liked that because it's like, "Little boy, really?" I mean, it's true for a while, but at
Yeah.
some point, it's like, "Do you get the upgrade?" But I'm stuck with it forever, and I did there was a time when I kinda came to terms with it. I was like, "You know what? Actually, that's not the worst thing ever." Like, um
It's just it's very
children are beautiful. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
what's more beautiful than a child? And I don't wanna stay a small child in every respect for my whole
No.
life. I don't think that's healthy, but in some respects, I do, and that's one of them. It's like there's there's a sort of innocence that's counterproductive in the world that we live in, but there's another sort of innocence that's really valuable, and I think to be protected. So,
Attractive.
yeah.
I think that innocence disarms people, and you can then ask we can have a conversation like we're having here, which is extremely, like, what do you call it? Like, I mean, it's the kind of conversation I wish everyone would from time to time, like, ask me, but no one ever does.
Yeah.
But your pathway in is a pathway of innocence. And so it really works. And I think innocent ages nicely too, because you could be 85 years old, and if that was still sort of that's a good look for an 85-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay, interesting. Does anything else come up with me?
You notice that I'm looking away a little bit because sometimes I have to try to look somewhere else when I'm trying to.
It's like one of those magic eye things where you gotta like look away, look back at it, like zoom in, zoom out.
more like who can I copy off of? This is a hard spelling test.
Hey, no, like
Where can I find the answer?
if there's nothing else, then that's totally fine. I was just curious.
Let me hold on to that.
Okay,
And can I tell you a story?
please.
So I think everybody is gifted and called by God to achieve something. And it might be like one of my friends. I mean, her career was making muffins at the farmer's market, and she was 100% content with that.
Hmm.
And that was her calling.
The world needs muffins. Please keep making muffins. People out there making muffins. I love you.
Yeah. And she was at peace with herself and is at peace with herself. Her and her husband are now retired, and that's beautiful. So she found her bit. I think everybody's got a bit. Everyone's got their muffins at a farmer's market. And sometimes we have to just slow things down to be able to find that bit. I don't even know where I'm going with this right now. What was the original? Where was I starting with this?
Anything else about me? That comes up?
I know. I got it. Okay. So for a bit, I was a wingman for a guy that was part of a speaking tour in South Korea.
Okay.
And so I was just his support, literally, almost like his bodyguard. So the first time I went, that was great. And I thought, I'm just going to be his bodyguard because I don't know these people. They don't know me. And we show up. But all these really cool things that happened before, these 3 old ladies in our community, they approached me and said, I wasn't even really their friends. I don't think I'd been to any of their homes, but they were volunteering for an organization my wife and I were running, which was like a walking clinic for healing.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty radical, actually.
Yeah.
So we had
story there.
Yeah, it's just a small thing. We had about 110 volunteers and about 40 churches involved. But other than that, it's a small thing. But anyways, they had this impression that said, we need to buy some new clothes because the next chapter in your life, and it needs to be a suit. And so they said, we go suit shopping with you. So I said, sure. Because why not? Like, it sounds like fun. It's one of those. It's not on the regular plane of the Rubik's cube, right? It's like weird.
Odd, yeah.
Yeah. So I said, I'm all in for that. So they bought me a suit and they said, got any shirts? No, don't have any shirts. So they got me 2 collared shirts, a tie, socks, shoes, like the whole deal. 3 weeks later, I'm in South Korea on a speaking tour where everyone's wearing suits.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that was strange that happened.
That's strange.
And it's like 350. They're all like Korean hardcore Presbyterian pastors at a retreat center.
Mm-hmm.
And we're delivering whatever we're delivering. So I'm just coming along for the ride. The guy that's running it, Daeyoung Kim, he goes during our breakfast meeting, he goes, so how's everyone's night? Everyone relaxed? Everyone's going, yeah, we all did good. He goes, so any unusual things sort of pop in your mind this morning, or anyone have a dream? It's like there's probably about 25 people like me, like speakers and keynotes, and their handlers and blah blah blah. I'm literally nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And no one said anything. Then I went, I had a dream, because I had one of those dreams. They go, oh, Steve, what was your dream? Oh, sorry, what's your name? Yeah, what's your dream? I go, this is my dream. He goes, sure. So why don't you kick off the 3-day conference? You've got the first hour and a half. How would you like to use it? And we started 45 minutes. And it took down the house.
Really?
Yeah. At one point, I'm just sitting on the stage. There's only one little kid in this whole auditorium of these highly competent, super powerful leaders. And I call the kid to the front and I say, your mom and dad, if they're there, just you guys are right. You can watch. Can you just sit beside me, please? I sit beside her and I talk about how she needs to build a relationship with me in order to experience the transfer of love, gifting, and anointing. I said, how many of you have that kind of relationship with God?
Mm-hmm.
And the place just melted like it was like a big block of butter in the microwave. By the end of the 3 days, like that was kind of, I mean, honestly, that was kind of the pivotal that set the standard for the 3 days. By the end, they're all in their tracksuits having crazy times. Like they had broken through whatever it is they're trying to break through.
I mean, you got a new suit just so you could take it off.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the irony of it. Back in the 70s, there was this movement called the Jesus People. You ever heard of the Jesus People?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know much, but
I was a bit young for that. I was like 6 when that was happening. So my
Mhm.
dad would have freaky people stay overnight, and sometimes they'd be like on drugs, and like they were just like. I was observing this thing that's going on. There's another story there that's really interesting, but some of the people that were volunteering for our little walk-in clinic for healing the sick, they had been. That's when they had their big time encounter with God and had found other planes of the Rubik's Cube. And so one of their leaders was named Bob Birch. And so he was just this guy that was an Anglican minister in Vancouver, British Columbia. He's like 67 years old. And his church is failing in sort of a downtown area. It's like nobody's there anymore. And
Yeah.
there's all these hippies hanging around. And he gets kind of like a Samuel in the Bible. He gets this message from God. Invite them in, don't reject them. So no. I'm an Anglican priest, man. I'm not letting these flea bitten, stealers into my place, right? But he followed this lead, and he became the father of that movement in British Columbia, Bob Birch. So he's like 95 years old, and some of those teenagers are now in their 60s, and they say, or 70s, they say, we want to visit Bob one more time, but I can't drive or whatever. I say, oh, I'll drive. So my wife and I'd never met him before. So we go to visit Bob Birch, still in Vancouver. He's like 95, and tries to visit with his Jesus People hippie disciples that are in their 60s and 70s. And so eventually, he's only in and out of napping. Like it's not that dramatic. And they say, "Well, hey, can you?" I say to him, "Any chance you could pray for your friends who come to visit you? Can you pray for them before we go?" And he goes, "Oh, sure." So he closes his eyes and he gets 100% clarity because he shifts from a plane that most psychologists work with, which is cognitive reasoning, putting sentences together, and he shifts over to a spiritual plane, and he is 100% lucid, like as if he's like got a room of 2,000 people that are feeding off every word. Where he does his prayer, and then I talk to his wife and say, "Can I have something at Bob's?" And she was like, "What?" Like, remember Elijah and Elisha, he got like the cloak, like when they transferred in the Old Testament. He goes, "Oh, I get where you're coming from." She goes, "Let me see what I can find." Because his kids have rummaged through everything already. So he said, but they left this one over. So here it is. I didn't. Here's Bob Birch's Robert Birch. Here's one of his Bibles. She goes, "I'll give you a Bible." I said, "Well, that's cool." I said, "Hey, do you have anything else?" She goes, "I mean, like, I don't know." She goes, "I'll rummage through his clothes. He's a little guy." So he finds his muscle T-shirt, and it's like one of those wife beater ones, like the white one, right?
Yeah.
So you can have this. So I get this muscle T-shirt. I put it on and go, okay, what's happened? What's going to happen next? Next thing is these old ladies come and say, "Steve, you need a suit." Next thing that happens is I'm in Korea and I have a dream. Next thing that happens, I'm in front of this whole room full of people knocking it down. But just before I went on, after that breakfast, remember I'm in Korea and they say, "Anybody have an unusual?" And they say, "I had this dream." They say, "Okay, Steve, can you prepare?" So I go back to my room. I am like ramped. I say, "What is this?" So I put my Bob Birch T-shirt on, put my suit on. I go, "Where is the spirit of Bob Birch for this moment?" Right? I go to brush my teeth. I turn the tap on, And the plumbing in Korea for in this little hotel, whatever, like my room anyways, the shower is attached to the tap, like it's a combo shower, a shower tap thing. So instead of the shower is the same room as the toilet, like it's all one room,
Yeah.
separate shower. So I turn on the tap and I drench myself. Instead of
The shower turns on.
yeah, it's instead of
Yeah.
brushing my teeth, I get soaked. Like my hair's wet, the suit's wet, and Bob Birch's t-shirt is wet. And I just found that to be spiritually so funny. Like instead of going like, "Oh, you're such an idiot," I'm like, "Oh, come on. God, you have a sense of humor. This is so funny." I just got myself like all ramped up. "You're gonna be a rock star." And then it went to like, okay, now I've been patted down. There's an innocence to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that if you don't see the value of having a unique, let's say, gift or calling from God in this case, and if you don't try to understand it or try to exercise it, you'll never experience it like
Mm.
naturally, or you won't be able to hone it.
Mhm.
And for the first probably 18 years of my life, I was backpedaling from it because it was terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having an angel visit you is not fun on either
Weird.
side of the fence.
Weird experience.
Yeah, and it makes you someone that you challenge authority because the connection you have is outside of the human authoritative realm.
Mhm.
Uh, and it's you got to mix it in with, in my case, with sort of scholastic failure, and then like how do you find a relatable like friends?
Mhm.
So I you know so you sort of back away from it until you realize that. And I think a lot of, let's say for a lot of your listeners, they might be like 55-year-olds and they've literally been backing away their whole life, not only in their personal life, but in their professional life.
Mhm.
Like they go, "Oh, I really feel good at this." Like this one unique bit that they do. And then you go, "But it scares me."
Yeah.
Not straight out of the, what's that manual called again? The DSM, whatever it is now.
DSM-5.
Yeah, I think it was the free when I was introduced to that horrible document, DSM-5, like, it doesn't fit that. And what about the College of Psychologists? This might be, and so the college trumps their willingness to tap into what actually makes them unique and of value as a healer to their client base.
Mhm. So, what does that look like for you in practice? Because you said you work with firefighters, you work with loggers. Like, I don't know, when I think of working with folks like that, the first thing that comes to mind isn't like intuitive, spiritual, like kind of out there stuff. That's not immediately what I gravitate towards or think about, but clearly that's been highly effective for you.
Yeah. So I think loggers, I mean, they have that missing a tooth, rough, heavy drinking sort of persona, but their real job is out in the, they're seeing stuff that's more beautiful than the rest of us ever see.
Mm,
And they're smelling it and they're experiencing it. And they have such a deep respect for the landscape because they're in it. The landscape could squish them any moment, right? And so, and they've, especially hand fallers, like people that are sawn down trees,
mhm.
they have to a person all had near death experiences.
That makes
So
sense.
they've broken through that same veil.
Mm,
They've been also taken to the hospital. And so the and a bunch of them, just like that 55-year-old psychologist maybe listening to this podcast, right? They're like, "Oh, I've just tried to I boxed that thing away. Like, I'm not going to explore that because I'm a logger after all. That means I drive a Super Duty and I do this and I fish and I hunt and hang out and I say rude things about women." Like that's their That's their smoke screen.
Yeah.
But behind that is close calls, near-death experiences, intuitive. A bunch of them, like, have heard audible voices telling them to stop, or an audible voice telling them to stop, back up, run.
Mm-hmm.
And then they follow that voice. Same with firefighters, especially wildland firefighters. They follow that voice, and as they're running, the road gives out and the landslide goes right behind their butt. And their supervisor watches them run and going, why are they running? And all of a sudden, whoosh, the landslide. I think my friend Randy, who is a hand follower with his career, married to the muffin lady, and and that saved his life. He heard an audible voice that said, "Run." So and here it is. Ready? It's
Yeah.
if you start with all you got is here on this planet, and our brains are just biological, and our urges are just survival of the fittest. If that's your start and stop, you're not going to have a mindset that allows you to think outside of that plane of the Rubik's cube. If I think, I mean, my worldview is simple. I go, it's just that standard. We're creative beings. There's more to life. There's something that happens when we die. And as a result, we're on this journey of purpose on this planet, and not just one person or just me. I think everybody is. So if you started with that mindset, then you'd be surprised, just like people that work with you, how they're drawn to you. People are drawn to explore, let's call it paranormal with me. Because even though I let them know, hey, I'm not like this new age person at all. I'm like think country church, like a not even that functional church. Like put that in your brain, and then and then you got that. Like just lock that in. So I let them know that, but there's this availability for them to explore something beyond what is normally talked about.
Mm-hmm. And how do you help people to explore that? Is it just kind of open-ended conversation, or do you have specific kind of method? I don't know. Method seems kind of clinical, but you know what I mean.
I deliver tickets.
Deliver tickets.
Yeah, tickets that invite people
Mm.
to talk about this stuff. And by the easiest ticket is tell your own story.
Mhm.
So, for instance, like you and I've given you probably a dozen tickets. Meningitis, supernatural healing, this weird thing that we were running with my wife, with like a healing rooms, walking clinic for the sick. Bob Birch, I even held it up in front of you, like there's a ticket, and now everyone's like, "What? Steve's got a Bible on his desk during a podcast? Like, what kind of? Wait, I'm done. This is way too religious for me." Blah blah blah. Right? Like I know that was a dangerous ticket to flash in front of the camera, but nevertheless, it was a ticket. And so you're let's say, out of 100 listeners, you're going to have a bunch that go, "Oh yeah, I've seen this pony show before. I'm not in," which is fine. And you can have some that are like, "Oh, Colin, this is your best guest you've ever had. Like, we need more of this because I've had some of the same experiences, and I don't know how to make sense of them. And I don't know where I can talk about it, but I know I need to this somehow in my life is really important." And so for those, they will. This is their birthday, and so even a room full of loggers, whenever me or our team open our mouths and we give out these little tickets, not to offend, but just to create a context of what kind of human interaction is available through this safety training, or whatever it is that we're talking about. Give that ticket. And then, hey, one of the tricks to the trade for us is that we do group training, but then we do one-on-ones with everybody as well. So they typically don't reveal their interesting story during the group training, but during their one-on-one, that's when they say, "Hey, I got a weird story I want to tell you." It's like, "Oh, school, I told a few weird stories myself. I go, yes, you did. Okay, let's hear your weird story.
It's like it's interesting. You're the way that you're talking about it's like a lot of people have had these weird experiences, but then there's kind of this burying that occurs or like intentional forgetting.
Yeah.
And you know, I've had some weird experiences, but I don't know the last time I thought about them until like now, right now. Like,
It's your birthday, Colin. It's
yeah,
your birthday.
I've had weird experiences, and it just kind of like they happened, and then they didn't happen again, and it's just like, oh well, I don't know what that was about.
So
But
there's
yeah,
two
it's
ways that we stand at a crossroad when we have those weird experiences. And I know this crossroad well because like sometimes I go, that's too weird and I need to pay my mortgage and I got 4 kids. So I'm just not even going to think about it. Like because
right.
the weird experience can take you down rabbit holes that make you unemployable kind of thing, right? In the short
Yeah,
term anyways.
yeah.
But so yeah, we all stand at a crossroads, including yourself with a weird experience to go. Do I just package it away as an anomaly to my normal, what's in therapy we call homeostasis, right? The regular flow of life? Or is there a chance that I should grab this weird experience and try to integrate it into my homeostasis?
Hmm.
And I think the more that I am on this planet, the more I'm really interested in helping myself and others integrate their anomalies into their regular day to day flow, their worldview, into their belief system.
Hmm.
So if you heard the word run and then the landslide happens behind you, what does that mean? How do you then apply that to the rest of your life so that it makes sense? So you don't have to have some sort of cognitive dissonance where you have a compartmentalization that takes place and you just store this event in the trauma part of your brain.
Yeah, this goes in the weird things box that I don't open. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because maybe that weird thing is actually the thing that makes you uniquely gifted to serve the world. Not always, but again, if you're not willing to explore it, I'm holding the Rubik's Cube again, then you'll never hone it.
Hmm.
Oh,
So, what might that look like? With you mentioned the example of running from the avalanche
mudslide.
mudslide. Yeah, because I hear that and I'm like, okay, you heard run, you ran, s- saved your life probably.
Yeah.
What do you do with that? What does that actually look like? What's a practical step to integrate that?
Well, let's say that you and I are having this. I'm imagining it right now, right? This is gonna be fun. You and I are on stage. It would be so awesome, actually. We have like 2,000 psychologists that pay good money to come to see your show.
Okay.
So we got them locked
Sure.
in. Can you see it? It's a really, really nice building. Yeah.
Yes, I got it.
Okay, so we're sitting on chairs and just visiting, but man, we've got the room. The room is in our hands,
Hmm.
and we just told this story, and then we just say to the room, well, what are you going to do with the run story in your life? And then instead of just you and I putting on a show, we say let's do like breakouts for the next 5 minutes. Just like turn to the person beside you and say, "Hi, my name is Steve. My name's Colin.
Hmm.
Do you have a run story? And
Yeah.
what did you do with it?" I think that's the answer, is that we have to collectively create a space where people become comfortable talking about their run stories.
And just get curious about what could it mean?
Yeah.
What could I do with it? Yeah.
And we don't necessarily have to have it all buttoned up and
Yeah.
have a anthropological, psychological, theological,
Hmm.
systematic understanding of it. I think it helps to have a sort of a general view of it. But I think part of it is just we need to create an environment where that's okay to
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. It's just a space for questioning. Yeah. I mean, we've got a few minutes here. I'll share a little bit. I don't have a
I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
everybody, this is going to be great.
it's definitely not like meningitis instant healing type of thing, but, like, there was a period of time, there were a couple periods of time. One of them was longer, and it was I think I was probably in, uh, middle school to high school transition, which is already a weird time, that's your brain and your body are doing all sorts of weird stuff. Um, but there was a time where I felt, daily, every day, I felt like I had, like, a little guide inside, like, pointing me to do random stuff that I wouldn't normally do. And so, like, one really weird example, um, I was at this park it was a playground down the street from my house, and I don't think I'd ever been to this playground before. I have no idea why I was at this playground. I just stopped there, and there was no one there, and I just walked down to the playground, and I just sat there, and I just felt like this little guide to go sit on this playground. So I was like, "Okay, what am I doing here? I don't know." Um, and it was getting dark, and this family rolls up, and it's getting dark. Like, this is a weird time to go to the playground for anybody. This family pulls up, and it's parents and this little girl. She's probably, I don't know, 4 years old. And so I'm standing there and I'm watching this family and I feel kind of creepy because like, why am I watching this family at the playground when it's getting dark? And I'm like 13-year-old scrawny kid, so I'm not like probably that threatening, which is okay. But and then I get this impulse to run home and grab this little guitar that I have that I kind of knew sort of how to play. I was learning how to play guitar, and then to come back. So I run home, I grab this little guitar, run back to this playground. They're still there, which is weird because now it's like pretty dark. You can't really even see, and they're playing on this playground. It's like, what is going on? But then I sat there and I just strummed on this guitar, and this little girl like danced around on the playground, and then they left, and then I went home, and I was like, that was bizarre. But I had a whole like couple weeks of experiences like that, where just like I felt compelled to just go to a spot and observe or interact with people. And I was not a very outgoing person. Most of my life I haven't been. More recently I've become a lot more outgoing, but that was very strange, unusual behavior for me to be doing anything like that. And then after a couple weeks of having that little guide inside, I just stopped. Didn't come back. Like, huh, okay, weird. The only other time, well, there's probably others that I haven't dredged up, but there was also a period of about 2 or 3 days in college where, yeah, I was in a house with 60 other guys. That was my living conditions, and we all slept in these bunk rooms so there'd be 30 people per bunk room. As you can imagine with college guys, these bunk rooms were kinda gross, smelled terrible, like, not great sleeping conditions. Um Not the place where you'd expect like, spiritual experiences. It's
Right.
more just, like, try to plug your nose and fall asleep. Um, but there was, like, 3 nights in a row randomly where I would lay down in this bunk room, and for the next few hours, I would experience just this overwhelming sense of peace and love and light. Just overwhelmed, like, and I didn't try to summon it, I didn't do anything, it just happened for a few nights in a row, and I remember talking about it to a couple people. I was like, "I don't know what is going on with me,
Mhm.
but I feel like I don't know, maybe I've been enlightened or something." I don't It's spiritual awakening, like
Yeah, yeah,
divine intervention in the middle of my random engineering college life,
yeah.
and then it stopped.
Wow.
It was just like 3 days, and it was really cool, but I had nothing to attach it to, nothing to do with it, and then it stopped, and I don't know that I've maybe thought about it a couple times in the past several years. It just came up though with you sharing that. That's it. That's some of my weird stories.
So let's just think about what's happening right now. Like we're practicing, like, for your psychology friends that are listening, we're practicing the modality.
Mhm,
Like, you show a level of curiosity. We and you approach it with innocence,
mhm,
and which is very disarming. Which is probably one of your superpowers, the ability to disarm people, so you don't have ego wars. probably with your clientele. It's my guess.
No.
No. And so, but it's very powerful to be not in ego war with someone because you disarm them. And then with me, you found the treasures that I hold very near and dear and don't show too many people. And you explored those treasures, and as a result, there's a reciprocation where your brain / spirit said, hold on, you too, you too have had these. Remember when you were 13 and the guitar and the park and the family and the 4-year-old and and I know you can't make sense of it, but that lasted for 2 weeks. You remember in the dorm when you had that sense of peace and calm that was there for 2 nights? Like, and so I think the crossroad now is this conversation. Is it an anomaly or is it a gift of integration? And that will be the question that we may not say straight up out loud to loggers and well-done firefighters, but by nuance, that is the invitation. We say, now, what are you going to do? Just in firefighting, they say, head down, dig a line. Are you just going to keep your head down to keep digging line? Or are you able to integrate this into your life? And if you do, it's almost one of those matrices where you say, is it going to make your life better or worse, or improve or not improve?
Yeah. Effective, ineffective.
Yeah. That's the word. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Effective might be too transactional term, but
Yeah. It is a little
enrich might be it.
enrich.
Will this enrich your life? But for me, there's always a cost analysis. So because you're now, in the words of Scott Peck, I haven't thought of him for 30 years. He wrote a book called something about drumming to your own. I said, when you leave the pack and you integrate those two stories into your day to day, you're offering a unique product that only you are able to steward.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be as sellable on the short term. However, I think on the long term, it's the ticket. It is what the world is looking for.
Yeah. Something I'm taking from this is there are lots of, well, there's lessons in everything. There's lessons in every moment of life. And there are some lessons that we get many, many, many times over and over and over again. And there are probably some lessons that you're not going to get very many times. They're kind of like these unique, special bonus episodes.
Yes, I like that.
And yeah, it's like if you only listen or pay attention to the lessons that life tries to teach you 10,000 times, you'll end up probably learning some pretty standard stuff. It's almost like everybody goes through. Well, a lot of people go through the same type of curriculum in school.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you learned how to do 2 plus 2. I learned how to do 2 plus 2 too. All right, we've got that shared thing. But if you don't pay attention to the bonus lessons, or like these other bizarre, random extra experiences, then it's like all we have is 2 plus 2. It's like, well, maybe there's something that you could learn that would really change your perspective or give you just something unique, both to offer the world and to experience. And yeah, so I don't know. That's what's going through my head of like, what are the special lessons that I've had in my life that maybe I've ignored because they were.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wait, this isn't in the syllabus.
That's right.
You
And
know?
we count the cost. Like, will my wife relate to it?
Yeah,
Like, will this build draw us closer, or will this push us further apart? Like those. That's what I mean by counting the cost.
yeah,
Like
right.
there is. It impacts your life.
Yeah, and I guess it depends on if you integrate it as I mean, to to pull from Blair a little bit, he talks about clarity versus certainty. That's one of his models. And if I take it with a sense of certainty, here's what this means, and you need to learn this lesson too. And this lesson is important, and everybody needs to learn this lesson. And it's like, well, maybe they don't. Maybe it's actually not a lesson for them.
Yeah.
But like we back up a little bit, it's like, but there are unique lessons for them. And so instead of just trying to beat them over the head with what I got from mine, just what you were talking about of just, well, I'll share the fact that I had a weird experience or unique lesson. And then that might encourage them to find what theirs was, not in my story, but in their own story.
Yeah, and I think people that are naturally like your listeners and audience that are naturally bent towards the human sciences. I mean, come
Well,
on.
I will say, psychology. I do train psychologists. That's kind of another thing. There might be some listening to this, but that's not the only audience for this podcast. Just so you know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But you know, people that are attracted to this podcast are going to, you know, they're already on that path. And they're already asking the question, you know, well, is this all there is? And anybody that has lived on this planet long enough has, you know, family member that has dipped into addiction and maybe even lost the battle, or like we're surprised how many of our friends we're burying right now, like with turbo cancers, and it's like there is a lot going on right now that requires more than just a single plane of understanding. So I find great comfort and strength in this expanded view of the world.
Yeah, it's like that. I mean, I keep coming back to that curriculum example, but it's helping me process this right now. Of like the basic curriculum helps you in most situations. It gives you some tools, something to do in most situations, but it doesn't prepare you for the outlier situations of your life. And the outlier situations always come around at some point.
Non-negotiable.
And then it's like, oh man, the quadratic equation's not helping me with this one. What do I pull from?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even if we pull it back from like at a civilization sort of level, is that there are times in a civilization where, you know, like in my community, we used to have this, just north of us was this giant pulp mill. And if you got a job at the pulp mill and were a tradesperson, your life was set. You didn't need God. You didn't need a financial planner. You didn't need nothing because you had a job that you could build a custom home with ocean view and drive a brand new truck every 4 years. And your kids could go to college or smoke cocaine. It didn't matter what they did, but like you were set. Well, that pulp mill is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that same job doesn't, on a single income, doesn't even purchase a normal house in our community anymore. And so that 25 years ago, you didn't need to pay attention to those outlier, you know, playing guitar in the park and listening to this piece that washes over you in a room full of 30 other smelly young men. Like you didn't need to pay attention because that college was going to give you that pulp mill job, which gave you that plan and you had it all buttoned down. I think that buttoned down model is gone. It's lost. And so I think we are in a time in Western civilization where we need more. You can't survive on a single plane worldview anymore.
The Superhuman Academy podcast is hosted by Collin Jewett and designed and edited by Army Cinco, with original music by Joshua Schunig and voiceovers by Corey Page Schunig. That's me. You can find past episodes and resources, as well as access to the ever-growing Superhuman Academy community at superhumanacademy.com. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice.